I decided that I was going to enjoy myself. It doesn't mean you don't make hard decisions when you need to. You develop relationships, you cast people aside that don't have integrity, whatever it is, you have to do that. I always ask myself, am I having fun? And I do. And it comes through with regard to how I operate. You don't have to. If it's not your personality, I get it. But one of the things you need to think about is, are you doing what you're doing and enjoying it and having fun? If you are, there's a good chance you're going to add more value than you ever possibly could. And if you're not, you may not, or you may need to stay. But please think about joy and being filled with joy when you do what you do. Everybody runs into 3 or 4 whys in the road in their life. It might be 2, it might be 8. I don't care. They run into these, and sometimes you win on those whys, even though you probably shouldn't. And that's because somebody else helped, or you got lucky, or you got blessed, or whatever the answer is. I love, and the reason why I asked that is exactly what you were saying, Randy. It is not an answer to a question. It is, I want to understand how someone is thinking while they're sitting there about the curiousness of that question. How lucky and or skilled have you been in life, and what's the balance between your ability to win based on just being lucky and good, and tell me why.
So I would say anytime someone is interviewing, they should be prepared to talk about real world experiences in their life, good and bad, and what they learn from them and how they prepare for them. And you see a difference pretty quickly between the people that have learned, positive ways to be part of a team and to deal with adversity and to develop grit and to develop perseverance versus ones who don't.
One of the things you didn't say, which I knew you wouldn't, and I'm glad you didn't, is you didn't worry about these specific experiences or industries or companies somebody has worked for. Frankly, I don't give a damn.
That I don't care about pedigree and technical excellence as much as I care about people skills and relationship skills and leadership skills, particularly the higher you go in the organization. The more you're interested in the other person on your team, the other person as a customer, the other person as your boss or a coworker, that interest conveys into building a better environment.
A trait that I love with people is curiosity. And one of the best ways to get to understand whether someone's curious is be quiet and let them ask questions and or think about how these people connect the dots and whether they're curious to understand or whether they believe they already know. No matter what skill set you have to get seriously lucky to be in the right place at the right time with the right mentors and the right questions many times. Even if you should have won, you don't. Okay, deal with it.
It's a relationship opportunity. It's how do you get out and meet people and create value in people's lives. And that's going to create more opportunity than just following job boards and sending out 1,000 resumes.
If you weren't in the room, so you weren't one of the decision makers, you needed to have someone in that room that knew you, loved you, and was willing to jump on the table and say, we are not leaving this room till Angie or Tony or somebody has a job. And it was fascinating. And think of it as advocates. You can think of it as mentors, whatever it is. If you didn't have that person, there was a chance you were going to lose your job, even though you were damn good at
it. In leadership, you pay in advance. So doing your job well at best keeps you in the room. Doing things that aren't your job opens the door to the next room.
And I was laughing like, this is beautiful. They said they're the Whit Merrifield or the Ben Zobrist of, whatever. I said, how beautiful is that? That's exactly what you just described, Randy. Invaluable. What position do they play? Well, depends on the day, but they're going to do a good job. You're just not exactly sure where they are because they can play 5 different positions. They show up with all these gloves because there's a different glove for every position. They walk in there like, okay, I got this.
And so there are times in your career that what you have in your mind as the path may not be the actual path. And so you redefine it.
And so I think the most important thing is really understand the perspective you have with regard to where you are and not think, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. Or what about me? What about me? That's bullshit. Just stop that.
And so you just don't let the bad things get you down. I had this conversation with somebody this week. Don't let what someone else thinks of you be more powerful than what you think of you.
It's what I do because I was willing to do that and be me. It takes a while to get to that point, but it's kind of interesting to think about how simple that is because it's much more relaxing and easy to be you than try to be somebody else. one of the Harryisms. You're going to get a bunch of these, like bad news needs to travel fast. There's another one that says, do things I don't know about. And it takes a while for people to believe that you actually mean that. But it still stood for something to these folks because they knew that they needed to put all their effort and work into it because I may never weigh in on it. Therefore, the decision they made needed to be the one that mattered. If you are always the backstop of people, they will not do their best work because they know you're going to revise it anyway. That is not a good way to run the organization from a leadership standpoint. And so what I think is you need to pay attention to some of these simple lessons with regard to communication, how you carry yourself, how you treat people, because that may very well change a 49-51 loser into a 51-49 winner. And one of the things that Sam Walton and David Glass both said, and I heard them as they were talking about, is the cumulative effect of winning all those things barely is a tidal wave.